All right, what's up, everybody? Okay, in this video here, I want to touch on the failure that was the Ryder Cup for the United States here in 2023 over in Rome at Marco Simone Golf Club, where they lost by, what was it, 5? I think 16 and a half to 11 and a half, and it wasn't even that close. We knew after day one that it was over after Friday's sessions, particularly, when guys are looking at a 6-1 type of deficit, and then just played them even the rest of the way, basically. Obviously, singles can have a little bit of volatility to it, but, at the end of the day, it's not so much that they were outplayed because they were, but it's the composition of the team. And then you look at the pairings, and it's one of those things where it becomes abundantly clear that Zach Johnson was out of his depth and that he wasn't ready for this. He did not put himself in a position where the team could succeed. And he, he went about things trying to, I really think, trying to beat the the math. I really think, and that this is the only thing that that I can actually the only thing that I can actually look at here is he legitimately thought that he was smarter than the system, that he could rely simply on, I don't know if it's chemistry, or I know experience can have something to say here, right? That we've seen over the course of time that there are guys who maybe they had a down year, they got a captain's pick, and they won some points and they had a good Ryder Cup. I'm not saying that's not a possibility, but when we look at the math, when we look at how things are constructed, right? And at the end of the day, 16 and a half and 11 and a half, and it wasn't even that close because they were, down from day one. You know, it's one of those things. So real quick here, let me dive into the actual team composition. Okay, so we had Sam Burns, we had Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, Colin Morikawa, and we had Brooks Koepka. Okay, so 6 guys. I would immediately tell you 3 of them were an absolute no-brainer that should have not been on the team, and a 4th questionable who I probably wouldn't have taken. Okay, so let's dive into that. So the 2 that I agree with, number 1 is Colin Morikawa. Okay, if we look at the statistics behind it, if we look at the data, because data is a big thing, you cannot discount the fact that an entire season of data does have some truth to it. Okay, so Colin Morikawa was 19th on tour in birdie average per round. He was 3rd in greens in regulation. He was 2nd in fairways hit percentage. He was 2nd in strokes gained approach. He was top 20 strokes gained off the tee, and he was 4th in strokes gained tee to green. And that's over a lot of different golf courses. Okay, and so I have no question in my mind that he would have been one of one of the first 2 for me, and Brooks Koepka would have been the other. Now we've got to take some of the live data and try to transpose that into PGA Tour ranks, okay? And we've got a little more limited sample size. Brooks Koepka winning some events this year helps his case, I think. But if we look at the data that we have, okay, so if we take, we can transpose from the live data that we have. Okay, birdie average, Brooks Koepka would have ranked third on the PGA Tour if we take his live stats and put them in there. He would have ranked third in greens and reg. Okay, that's huge. Okay, if we take where Colin Morikawa is, and we can kind of be like transpose some of that data. So if Colin Morikawa ranked second in strokes gained approach, and he ranked fourth in strokes gained tee to green, I think it's pretty fair to say Brooks Koepka is probably going to be in that ballpark, just based on some other data as well. So I'm, 1 and 2 right there, Morikawa and Brooks Koepka. I would have for sure. Okay. So that then tells you Sam Burns, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and Ricky Fowler, I would have not picked. And let me tell you why. Because I know there's some fan favorites in there. And let's start with we'll go right down the line here. So Sam Burns, okay? He ranked 156th on tour in greens and regulation. He ranked 121st in fairways hit percentage. He ranked 122nd in strokes gained approach. Okay. You heard a lot of people talk about Sam Burns, his putting. He ranked 15th on tour in putting. You know why he ranked 5th on tour on putting? Because he couldn't hit a green, and so he had a lot of one putts. Okay. And his scrambling, which is a representation of getting up and down, was only 50th on tour. Okay. Jordan Spieth had better scrambling statistics. But Sam Burns was also only 81st in strokes gained tee to green. Okay. So I would have never, I don't even know why Zach Johnson thought that Sam Burns was a good selection. Like I'm, completely mind blown. And then you look at, so he pairs Sam Burns, okay, with Scotty Scheffler. And a lot of people were saying, oh, it's a great partnership. Scheffler's such a good ball striker. Sam Burns is a great putter. Okay, well, first of all, if you're one putting from inside 5 feet, okay, that doesn't do you any good because it means you're getting up and down, you're not making birdies, et cetera, et cetera. Scheffler can't make a putt to save his life. He's one of the worst on tour. Okay. So you put them in a situation where they're playing alternate shot and you put them together in the very first match. Absolutely terrible decision. Okay. And that we can get into pairings and stuff more. I'm not too worried about that. But let's go then to Jordan Spieth. Okay. Jordan Spieth ranked 74th on tour in birdie average, which is basically kind of average. He ranked 147th in greens and reg. He ranked 119th in fairways hit percentage. And he was tour average in strokes gained approach. Okay. Again, guy can't hit a green, guy can't hit a fairway. And again, he was ranked, his putting stat was 22. Okay. But again, when you're not hitting greens, you're going to have less putts because you're having a lot of one putts for par, right? You get the idea here. I just wouldn't, I mean, he ranked whatever it was, like 8th in Ryder Cup points or whatever it is. But just like average from a performance metric standpoint. And so, it's one of those things where like you cannot discount the numbers here. And so when we, when we look at what's going on and how everything is working here, right? We start to paint a picture. And the, you know, the the real key indicator here then of what was going on, okay, is now we dive into Justin Thomas. I'm going to save Ricky Fowler for last because I was on the fence about him. But Justin Thomas, okay, he ranked 106th in greens and reg. He ranked 90th in putts. He ranked 106th in scrambling, and he ranked 140th in fairways hit percentage. Okay. Um, I don't even know why Zach Johnson thought this was going to work. You can't put, I mean, you could maybe, so Justin Thomas birdie average was top 40 on tour, which okay. So, you could maybe put him out in a four ball and just tell him try to make birdies, like, maybe, and then you could pair him with a steady Eddie partner. I don't know there. But it's just kind of mind blowing to me. Okay. Now, Ricky Fowler, I was on the fence about, and I understand the excitement with Fowler, and he had kind of a resurgence this year, and he won the Rocket Classic in Detroit. Okay, he performed well, pretty well overall, but the guy crumbled in some important situations, and I don't know if that's just a reflection of trying to refine yourself, learn how to win again, that kind of thing. Okay, but I I had a lot of questions with Fowler, even though he was top 10 in birdie average, pretty top 40 greens and rag and putts. Fairways he was around 100. I think he was ranked 93rd. Um, but his strokes gained approach and strokes gained tee to green, he was top 15 on tour. Okay. I just felt like there were too many questions this time around of can he do it under the gun? Can he do it under pressure? Ryder Cup is elevated. You're in a foreign, hostile type of environment. And I just don't think that was the right situation for Fowler. That's just me, you know. So that's those four. Okay. Again, I would have Sam Burns, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas wouldn't even have been on my radar, and I would have told them flat out, "You've given me an entire season of data and proven to me it's just not working." Okay, and I will take the heat for not taking any of you and have my justification based on mathematics, and we can have that argument. Okay, and I would have settled on not taking Ricky Fowler as well. So we've got four guys that I disagree with that I wouldn't have taken. And how then should Zach Johnson have done this? Well, if we're looking at the math, okay, and we're looking at Ryder Cup performance historically, pressure packed, all that, okay. So I would have taken two other live players and I would have taken two other PGAT players, okay. So let's go through this. Number one, Dustin Johnson. Okay. If we take his live numbers and we put them on the board or the PGA Tour stats for the season, Dustin Johnson would have ranked number one in birdie average, number two in greens and regulation, and he would rank 29th in fairways hit percentage. Okay. If we transpose that then over to things like strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green, again, same thing as Morikawa. Same thing as Kepka, right? Johnson is right up there. His putting numbers don't look as good, but when you hit a lot more greens, your putting numbers are going to be higher because you're not scrambling to save par. You're two putting comfortably for par, right? And so you have to take some of that with a grain of salt. I'm willing to take a guy like Scotty Scheffler, for example, who hits fairways, who hits greens, who can score, and kind of look past some of the putting things because in a team event and the Ryder Cup and some of this thing, sometimes that heightens things for players. Dustin Johnson has multiple sessions of experience with Ryder Cup, President's Cup, that kind of thing. And so I think that Dustin Johnson would have been a no-brainer. Now, my next choice I know is a hot topic and a volatile pick, but just go with me on this. So, Bryson DeChambeau would have been a pick for me, and let me tell you why. Okay, number one, length would have been really helpful, and he is actually pretty accurate when he needs to be. If you look at the stats, like fairways hit percentage, Dustin or Bryson DeChambeau, not very good. He's worse than tour average in fairways hit percentage. But you got to remember too, when he's got to dial it in and he has to hit a fairway, he can, much like Dustin Johnson and other clutch players. Bryson DeChambeau ranked two in birdie average, or he would have on the tour, ranked two in birdie average, ninth in greens and reg, top 60 in putts, top 60 in scrambling. Okay, better than tour average in both. If you transpose that over to strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green, I'm sure he's going to rank up there in the the upper probably third of tour data because even though you're looking at a golf course, Marco Simone, where driving accuracy is a premium. I think you take Bryson DeChambeau all day long over a Ricky Fowler, over a Justin Thomas, George Spieth, Sam Burns, just for the simple fact of he quite literally is a gamer. That's a guy that when he seems to just need to have it, he's got it, much like Dustin Johnson. And he also played recently before the Ryder Cup. And so that's a huge part of it right there. Okay. So that leaves us with two other players. Who would I have taken? Okay. I had it narrowed down because, again, striking off the four that I said, Burns, Spieth, Thomas, Fowler, they weren't even on my radar, and they shouldn't have been on Zach Johnson's radar. The whole getting caught up in, quote, you don't leave Justin Thomas at home type of thing is such garbage. And that tells me right there as a captain that I can't trust you because you're getting caught up in emotions, feelings, friendships, whatever it is. And that's why people say the Ryder Cup looked like the good old boys club because it really, really did. And it was unfortunate. And it showed because they lost quite handedly. It wasn't even close as 5 points. So I had six guys that kind of like a 6 for 2 playoff for the last two spots. So I had Lucas Glover, Russell Henley, Keegan Bradley, Sahith Theegala, Tony Finau, and Cameron Young. Okay. I know a lot of people were high on Cam Young. Let me tell you why or why I wasn't. Okay. So he was 95th in putts. He was 140th in scrambling. He was 117th in fairways percentage. He was 88th in strokes gained approach. And so it made me really kind of question, um, who could I pair him with in partner matches? Again, I guess you could throw him out there, kind of like you could have with Justin Thomas, and say go try to make birdies in a four ball match. But I couldn't use him in um, in foursomes, alternate shot. I just couldn't trust it. Okay, so that was one. Um, Sahith Theegala, he had played well through the year, but kind of settled on, same thing. Greens and reg was terrible. He was ranked 133rd, 98th in scrambling, 158th in fairways hit percentage. He was ranked fifth in putting, but again, same as Sam Burns. If you can't hit a green, you're gonna have less putts because you're scrambling, and his scrambling wasn't even all that good. And so he was also ranked 125th, strokes gained off the tee, and he was about tour average in strokes gained approach and strokes gained tee to green. So it was one of those things I couldn't quite lean into that. Okay, now we come to Keegan Bradley. Okay. Um, I know a lot of people were high on him. Yeah, he had a good year. Okay. But his scrambling, he was ranked 139th. He was ranked 96th fairways hit percentage. Tour average and putts and greens and reg at 72 and 74. Okay. He had a good birdie average. He was ranked top 15th in birdie average. But again, he was about average on strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee, tee to green, right around 50 to 60 in a rank for both of those. So, I mean, like good overall considering, on your own ball, good sample size of, you know, a lot of tournaments, but I just don't think, because I do think chemistry is right as a part of it, and I just don't think it was there with Keegan. And that's not a knock on his performance or anything like that. I don't think there was enough there to really, really commit to it. Okay. So it narrows it down to three: Lucas Glover, Russell Henley, Tony Finau. Okay. And at the end of the day, I would have gone with Russell Henley and Tony Finau. And let me tell you why with Lucas that I just couldn't quite pull pull the trigger. Okay, so let me go with it came down to between Henley and Glover. I would have taken Finau because was um, he was top 20 greens and reg, top 20 in birdie average. He was, tour average in fairways hit percentage, which from the fact that he hits it really, really long, that from an accuracy standpoint is good. Fifth in strokes gained approach, seventh strokes gained tee to green, and top 40 strokes gained off the tee, or top 45. And he's got experience. The guy's he's a gamer. You could pair him with several other players and really get a lot out of each other. And I think he would have been just the perfect addition to this Ryder Cup squad. So then that left me with Lucas Glover and Russell Henley. And let me go through. Here's why I leaned towards and would have gone with Russell Henley over Lucas Glover. So I know that Lucas Glover got hot towards the end of the season, okay, but that unfortunately was kind of like a small sample size, okay. Lucas, yes, his putting got better towards the end of the year, but he did rank 120th on tour in putting. Henley ranked 70th, okay. Now here's where I feel like Henley really shined, okay. He ranked 27th in greens and reg and 70th in putts. It's one of the best combinations that someone has out there. He was 23rd in scrambling. He was number one in driving accuracy percentage. He was top 20 strokes gained approach and strokes gained tee to green. Very steady player. And a guy that if you need to hit fairways for foursomes and four ball, that's it. You can take a guy like Russell Henley and pair him with anybody, and it would have been a really good combination. Okay. Zach Johnson missed the mark horribly, horribly, horribly on these picks. He put four guys in his captain picks that should not have been there. I think he let friendships get in the way. He let Fred Couples and some of these other things probably get in his ear and everything. And it just gets to a point where I think that, you know, no like offense intended towards the President's Cup, but it's not the same thing. And I think a guy like Fred Couples he's too buddy buddy with a lot of people. And it just is one of those things where I think that's another missed thing there by Zach Johnson is having Fred Couples as an assistant captain. The other guys are probably fine, Furyk and Sink and Stricker. Um, but yeah, I think that there was a lot of issues that I found with this. And when you look at how, you know, how they went about, you know, putting matches together, um, and how they paired things and whatnot. I think number one, the Euros wanted it more, but also, which is evidence in the preparation, you know. Um, 9 of the 12 guys hadn't played a competitive round of golf in 5 weeks. That's a huge miss. As captain of the Ryder Cup team, you should have been adamant that the guys get a competitive round of golf within at the most 3 weeks of the Ryder Cup. And then, you know, just put them in a position where they can succeed. I'm sorry, I don't care how good you are, right? Coming to a course you're not very familiar with, doing a couple of days of recon and et cetera, and then hoping that you know, it works out. But again, that's where with Bryson and DJ, that would have been a help too because they played a couple of weeks prior. They got some competitive reps in. Okay. But yeah, I think that's just where, plain and simple, it was just a massive failure on the captain's part, and it all started with the picks. And yeah, I guess we'll never know, but hopefully things are better, you know, in a couple of years next time around, and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's my take on it. Hope it was a good video, informative and thought provoking, and we'll talk to you later. See ya.